Chodesh, I thought I'd bring up something that I never understood, and that is the Beracha on Hallel when you daven in a minyan on Rosh Chodesh. And I'll explain what I mean. In general, the Rambam paskins regarding brachot. Kol hashomea bracha min habrachot mitchila v'ad sofa. If you listen to a bracha of someone else from beginning to end, v'nitkaven latzeit b'yedei chovato, and you wanted to fulfill your obligation, yatsa, you fulfilled your obligation, v'af al pi shelo ana amen, even if you didn't say amen. But, says the Rambam, v'chol ha'oneh amen achara mevarech, harei zeh kemevarech. But if you heard the bracha and you said amen, it's like you made the bracha yourself. In other words, if you heard a bracha and you said amen, you don't make another bracha. It's like you already made it. And quite frankly, this is our practice on many times during the year. And I'll quote two. Number one, the night of Yom Kippur. The night of Yom Kippur, there's no Kiddush. So we make Shehechiyanu in the shul without a cup of wine, fulfilling the Gemara in Eruvin that says that you could say it afilu bashuk. You could say Shehechiyanu on any yontif without a cup of wine, but we just add the cup of wine to add chashivus, to add importance to it. We can't do that on Yom Kippur since we can't drink. We say it in shul. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Leila Yom Kippurim, after Kol Nidre, you say Shehechiyanu, but warns the Mishnah Berurah. V'gam hatzibur yomar kol echad belachash. It's better that everyone should say it themselves. V'tov sheyamaharu l'sayem habracha shemevarech la'atzmo, kedei shekesheyisayem hashliach tzibur habracha yomru amen. It's best that the shliach tzibur says Baruch, and everyone says the bracha quickly, and when he finishes, you say amen. Why? For the reason we just said. If you hear it first and say amen, it's like you said it, so you can't say it afterwards. Example number two, Sfira in shul. When you're in Ma'ariv during the 49 days of Sfira, and you count Sfira to Omer in a minyan, the Rashba was asked way back when, this is what happens. A Chazzan magdim levarech, v'akal alon nimacharav amen. First the Chazzan makes the bracha, everyone says amen. We just said that if you do that, it's like you made the bracha. So therefore, mishechazaru berech lachar mikan, im hi bracha levatala, those that say the bracha afterwards, which is exactly our practice, is that a bracha levatala, a blessing in vain? Answers the Rashba, no, for the following reason. Im da'at hayechidim shelo latzeit b'sfirat shliach tzibur, tzarich lachzor v'levarech. If even when you heard the bracha and you say amen, you added one little monkey wrench, you have da'at, your mind is, I don't want to be yotzei with the chazan, then you have to make the bracha again. And that's what the Ramah paskins. V'afilu ana amen al birkat hakahal im hayad da'ato shelo latzeit yachzor v'yivarech v'yispor b'layla. Says the Ramah, if you have negative kavanah, namely when the chazan makes that bracha on sfira, you're thinking, I don't want to fulfill my obligation with him, then you have to make the bracha again. So to sum up, when you hear a bracha and you say amen, you can't make the bracha again because it's like you made the bracha yourself unless you have what we call negative kavana. You have kavana lo latzeit. You have kavana, an intent, I do not want to fulfill my obligation. This brings us to Hallel on Rosh Chodesh and my pet beef. I do not understand for the life of me how we hear the bracha from the Chazzan. We all answer amen, and then we make the bracha again. And indeed, Rav Soloveitchik was not happy with this. In Nefesh HaRav, Rav Hershel Shechter Shlita says, and I quote, "Umin hanachon la'akpid b'birkat ha'Hallel, shekol echad yivarech la'atzmo biyachad im shliach hatzibur, ki im yamtinu ad she'achar she'anu amen, kvar yatzu yedei chova b'bracha zo." Namely, when you hear the bracha from the Chazzan, you should say it with the Chazzan, word for word. Baruch atah Hashem, etc. They call it Hallel, or Asfardim, Ligmor it Hallel, because if not, it's like you made the bracha because you're going to answer amen. And when you make the bracha, says Rav Soloveitchik, tiyek bracha levatala. And for some reason, ha'olam ein medaktekim b'zeh. The Welt, the world, is not medaktek. Rav Sternbuch in Shuvot v'Hanagot says, because Hallel on Rosh Chodesh, it's just a minhag. Ra'ui linhag v'levarech v'lesayem im hashliach tzibur v'henag ha'chazon ish. Says Rav Sternbuch that Hallel of Rosh Chodesh, you should indeed do like Rav Soloveitchik said, and that was the minhag of the Chazon Ish. word for word, letter for letter, say it with the Chazzan. Because if you don't and you answer Amen, you can't say it unless you have that negative kavanah. So how do we go ahead and justify what people do? It's what every shul does. You hear the bracha, you say Amen, and then you make the bracha. How do we justify it? According to the Rashba, there's only one way, and that is if you have negative kavanah. Namely, during the time the Chazzan makes the bracha, the whole time you're thinking, I don't want to be yotze with this Chazzan's bracha. And that's what Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says in Halichot Shlomo. He says, "En tzrichin hakahal lechaven shelo latzet bebirkat hashas, mipnei shebizvaneinu da'at kol adam shelo latzet bebirkato." Said Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, actually you can take the Rashba and be a little more makel. And that is that you don't have to have negative kavanah per se, but rather it's assumed. It's assumed by Sfira, it's assumed by Hallel on Rosh Chodesh, that if the Chazzan's making the bracha and you're about to make the bracha right after him, the assumption is you don't want to be yotze with the Chazzan. Even though Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was a Gaon Olam and a wonderful human being, and I am nothing compared to him, I still think that it's more ois gehalten, as we say in Yiddish. It's much better if indeed this practice would be changed, and we go ahead and say the bracha word for word with the Chazzan. We do that in many different instances, like to avoid saying Amen after Gal Yisrael. One of the wonderful ideas is to say it word for word with the Chazzan, as the Mishnah Berurah suggests in the name of different Achronim. Why not do it on a Hallel on Rosh Chodesh? Namely, when the Chazzan makes the bracha, say it with him, word for word. There won't be an Amen, we'll live with it. But if there will be an Amen, it can cause damage.
שנת יעקב צהלה ושמחה בראותם יחד חלק מרדכי תשועתם היית לנצח את תקוותם בכל דור ודור להודיע שכל קרוביך לא יבואו שוב ולא יקלמו לנצח כל החוסים בחיי להודיע שכל קרוביך